Hi there, welcome to IndyCar on the 15th of April 2019. I'm Gordon Ross. Today's show is about two things actually. The first one, because like everybody else, I read the newspapers and I read the news feeds every day. But two things sort of jumped out at me today on looking through what was happening around Scotland. And the first one was an article written by Mike Russell yesterday, which appeared in the media. And in this article, Mike, who, incidentally, I have enormous respect for Mike Russell, but in this article he had written, he was explaining how since 1974 he'd been a member of the SNP, and he had fought hard all through the lean years of the SNP's history, when sometimes they were struggling to get double figures in terms of the numbers of MPs elected, and then eventually all the way through to 2014 and Alex Salmond securing agreement with the then Scottish executive run by Donald Dewar that at no point during the creation of the new Scottish Parliament should there be any limitation put in place that would prevent the people of Scotland from voting to become independent at a later date. And that little piece of history from Mike led me to think a little bit further ahead about what more can be done legally to advance the cause. Mike's article concluded with a point which I think is interesting, is that the SNP's attitude to independence is simple. It can only be achieved legally, by legal means, and in the minds of those who lead the SNP, that means a fully legal referendum which has a Section 30 order to make it legitimate so that it's respected by the European Union, the EU generally, countries of the EU, countries of the United Nations, and so on. So their focus is very much on the legitimacy of the democratic process and the fact that everything is done illegally and above board. Which is fine as far as it goes, but it means that, as Mike pointed out in his article, when it comes to actually having a vote, it means that we're constantly waiting for the United Kingdom to give us this Section 30 order. So again, we're back to the point which everybody hates, where Scotland has to go cap in hand begging for permission, because that's what it seems to amount to, permission to have a vote on our own future. Now, the question of legality is one which people argue about constantly. Do we need to have a Section 30 order in order to have a legal referendum? And the answer to that is no. But, and this is where the SNP's but comes in order for the EU to recognise a yes vote, they would need to see that the UK had agreed to the ballot. And the UK is not agreeing to the ballot. And anyone who's been involved in this movement, as long as Mike Russell has been, back to 1974, must realise that the UK is never going to give a Section 30 order. So his article is a wonderful explanation and rich detail about the history of the journey so far. But the article concludes with a dead end. It hits the buffers at the Section 30 order, as it always does. We always end up back at this square one, where we have to ask permission from another country to vote on whether we should end a treaty with that other country. I don't think that we need to do that, and a lot of other people don't think that we need to do that. Anyway, I'll return to that later in the show. The next item that I want to bring up is a piece of news which I noticed yesterday, and it's appeared again today, which is that there is a charity in Scotland whose name escapes me for the moment, but they are demanding that the right to food be enshrined in Scottish law. They're so worried about poverty and malnutrition and lack of funds for people to buy simple everyday foods to feed their children, their families, because of swinging austerity cuts, sanctions and other unfair and frankly punitive measures taken by the London government against the poorest people in society. They are worried that people don't seem to have the right to the simple basics of life: food, accommodation, heating, lighting, water, transport. the basic functions of human life, and they are asking the Scottish Government to legislate so that food becomes a basic human right which is guaranteed to all Scots. And this is a terrific thing that could be done. Now, the reason I bring up these two subjects together is Mike Russell's article about achieving independence and not being able to get past this point of the Section 30 order and trying to maintain this legality with all these other countries, and this issue of the food you might think are completely unconnected, but they're not. They're connected by one fundamental thing, and that is the lack of a constitution in Scotland, in Britain generally, but in Scotland particularly. Now, although we might not be able to get a Section 30 order, I don't believe there is anything in Scots law that would prevent the Scottish Parliament from legislating, having debated the issue, for legislating, bringing forward legislation and voting on a new Scottish constitution which guarantees food as one of its primary human rights. Food, accommodation, housing, suitable to your needs. It has to be appropriate and suitable. Every human being in Scotland ought to be entitled to a home and sufficient food. At the very least, these human rights would apply to anybody in any part of the world. If we do this, if we do adopt a written constitution, and we have a written constitution already prepared, submitted to the Scottish Parliament by its author, Dr. Mark McNaught, and by its proposers at Yes Day Scotland, who are the blockchain voting organisation, both of whom have put forward a fully completed document, an entire Scottish constitution, written by an expert, modified by over 250 members of the Scottish public who took the time to take part in the consultation process, who amended it, who added to it. We have a functional, perfectly well-written legal document waiting for the Scottish Parliament's attention. Now, I know for a fact that it's been submitted for their deliberations, but I also know for a fact that it's been submitted to the civil service at Holyrood. And as far as I'm aware, neither the SNP government nor anyone else in that Parliament has any plans to take it forward at the moment. I've seen evidence of that, I've seen letters to that effect. It's sitting there at the Parliament in somebody's desk waiting to be voted on. It could be done at the end of the Easter recess. When Holyrood comes back from its Easter break, the first thing they should do is vote on that constitution to guarantee the human right of food to those people right now. And it can be done within a week. Now, why is it also important for Mike Russell's story? Well, you remember me talking about the brick wall with the Section 30 order, this so-called Section 30 order, which allows Scotland temporarily to control its own destiny. It takes the issue of who runs Scotland, its sovereignty, back from the United Kingdom, gives it to the Scots while they deliberate and have their vote, which is what happened in 2014. But is that the only legal way to get your independence? And can the British government forever deny you that? I don't think that's legal. I don't think it's legal for the British government to deny us that right, the right to vote, when we have the claim of right and the declaration of Arbroath as legal documents, founding documents of the Scottish state, which guarantee our rights to vote on this matter right now in Scots law. What I'm proposing, though, since the SNP are so worried about the legality of it, and they're worried about the fact that the Tories might mount some kind of a, what would you call it, some kind of a boycott, which would take 20% of the Scots voters out of that ballot. Let's say we don't have that referendum just now. Let's say we forget that. What happens if we have a written constitution in Scotland? And in that written constitution, I happen to know there is a process built into it. And in that constitution, there's a thing called the constituent process. And the constituent process is a steady flow from where we are now as a devolved administration at Holyrood to a fully fledged independent government and independent country after 18 months. And that can be set in motion now. It can be set in motion at the end of the Easter recess. We could adopt that entire document with its attendant process of driving towards independence over a period of a year and a half. And we could set that in motion right now without any vote at all anywhere, except in our own parliament. And remember, our own parliament is a representative picture of Scottish politics. We have Tories, we have Lib Dems, we have Labour MSPs, we have Green MSPs, we have Independents, we have Socialists perhaps as well in there somewhere maybe, and we have of course the SNP. So there is a wide spectrum of representation in our own parliament, which is completely legal. So if they voted, those representatives whom we elected at the last general election for Scotland to adopt a constitution, to end this food poverty that we have at the moment, at a stroke, and to set Scotland on a process, on a journey towards independence in several legal steps, including the recreation of Scots law, the adoption of European law into Scots law, the rejection of any British laws that we don't like, any UK legislation which doesn't meet the requirements of the Constitution, then that is a legal process. That's not an election, but this is a legal process to establish a new country. And it follows legal procedure all the way through, from one end to the other, for over 18 months. And it ends up with Scotland ready to be independent, with all of the offices necessary created and everything done. Scots law rewritten for the 21st century and everything ready to go. At that point, after 18 months, we can have a confirmatory referendum, like they were proposing a confirmatory referendum on the Brexit deal. All we have to do is have a confirmatory referendum within Scotland that says, now that Scotland's ready to be an independent country and the Constitution has completed its journey and is now law, we either want Scotland to proceed to full independence or we do not. But by that time, Scotland will be de facto completely ready to be independent. And this we can do right now. This is something we can do while we are waiting for Brexit to never happen. We can continue our journey without them. We don't have to wait. And that's what this show is about today. The Constitution is not just a document that defines the country, it's a document that defines the journey from where we are as a devolved administration to a fully fledged country with its own laws, its own European laws, its own offices of power, its own taxation laws, its own benefits laws, its own rights and human rights, everything in place within 18 months, ready for us to take control at the point when we do have a vote. And it's a vote that we can have without a Section 30. Because by that time, Scotland will legally be ready to be independent. It will be sitting a turnkey nation, I like to call it, ready to go. All we have to do is say, yes, we want to take ownership of this country, turn that key, and we begin a new journey together. And that's all I wanted to say to you today. Have a good day. Bye.